And the next gentleman is somebody who's never before performed stand-up comedy. However, I'm sure you know him. He's a wonderful man, and I'm sure he'll be hilariously funny. Please put your hands together for the one, the only, Mr. Patrick Teoh.
Switch the mic on lah, so high. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Patrick Teoh. Some of you might remember me. Yeah, I can hear somebody going in the back. Yeah, Patrick Teoh, isn't it? He used to be on the radio lah, bugger. Yeah. Patrick Teoh. He dabbles a bit in acting, TV, stage, movies and all that. Some guy over there said, yeah lah, bastard Patrick Teoh, isn't it? Grumpy, cynical, and I heard, damn arrogant and lancy, you know. Let's get one thing straight here. That's Lena Teoh. My name is Patrick Teoh. I know what you're thinking. I know what a lot of you are thinking. So, this is what a scared 64-year-old man looks like. Scared about what? I'm scared because this is the first time I'm doing this comedy thing. I've never ever done it before. Like the shirt? The S stands for scared shitless. You know, ladies and gentlemen, before I came on stage, I, of course, did some homework. I asked for advice from some of the masters of comedy. And one of the advices I was given is, Patrick, you must never, ever start a set by telling the audience that you're scared. So, fuck you! Did that, another master came and said, hey Patrick, it's almost fucking suicide to intimidate the audience right at the beginning of the show. So I'm really sorry I said fuck you. I'm really sorry I said fuck you. I don't really mean that. Although looking around the room, some of you are actually quite fuckable. Especially him. Yeah. Oh, did you see the funny comedy in the newspapers today? Did you know that Lee Chong-wei beat Lin Dan in the Korean Open because Rosma Manso gave him advice? Apparently, Rosma said to him, hey Chong-wei, when you play against Lin Dan, you must not look at his eyes. I mean, good advice, but I mean, if she was playing Lin Dan, she'd be looking at his cock. Not because she wants his cock, she's short lah. I have a script, ladies and gentlemen. Because I'm 64 years old, it's hard to memorize 7 fucking pages, you know. You think it's easy, you try it. And by the way, I'm actually very shocked to see that there are so many fucking closeted, sick and twisted fuckers in this town. I mean, we sold out 420 tickets because you saw the title of this show was Sick and Twisted. Oh, let's go, let's go, let's go. I mean, looking at you, some of you fellas are like this Indian couple over here from PJ, probably go to St. Francis Xavier Church, right? Normally, when this couple hear the word fuck, man, hey, get put water, what's ears? Tonight, they're fucking laughing, man. Jesus Christ. The line at the confessionals will be very long next Sunday. You know, when I first told my friends that I was scared about doing this sick and twisted stand-up comedy thing, everybody said, yeah, Patrick, what for you want to be scared? You've been doing radio for 40 fucking years, man, what's there to be scared of? I mean, radio is very, very different from being up here. On radio, I say something, I don't care if you laugh. I'm in the studio with my microphone and my ego. I think it's funny, that's good. Right, Ezra? And some people also tell me, yeah, don't worry, Patrick. You're the voice of God. Voice of God? How can? I'm a man. Oh, you didn't get that joke, okay. I should have said, I'm male. Still don't get it. Okay, never mind. Who wrote that? Anyway, there is actually a story behind this voice of God thing. It happened many, many years ago when I was the MC for an event called the Asian Advertising Congress. And on the opening day of the event, this big shot, the CEO from a big agency in New York City, came to make the keynote address. And the moment he stepped on stage and stepped up to the rostrum, things started to fuck up big time. Because the event was held at the Upno building, so... Now he stepped up to the rostrum, the microphone didn't work, the visuals went all wrong, and after a few minutes of that, he said in total exasperation, he said, "Oh God, what's happening?" And I, as the MC, replied, "Yes, you called." A lot of people thought that was funny then too. And after that, an advertising magazine from Hong Kong wrote a story about me and they titled it The Voice of God. So that's how the name came about. Actually, one of the questions most often asked of me is, "Hey Patrick, how come you got such a nice microphonic voice?" Microphonic voice. Well, I want to tell you that a voice, of course, is God-given. So God gave me this voice. And I suppose he did that because he felt sorry for giving me these legs of shit. I mean, God is fair, right? I like this guy in the front row. He's only got one eye, but he's got a great sense of humor. Actually, after that Voice of God thing was over and done with, I became simply known as the Voice of Malaysia, or simply as The Voice. That was until some Australian fucker by the name of Joe Hasham came along and started doing all those fucking voiceovers for BFM radio. Yeah. Bumfuck Malaysia. BFM 89.9. And how many of you here listen to BFM? Yeah. So you must have heard those god-fucking awful commercials where Joe Hasham, this fucking Lebanese Australian, is trying to teach another Mansale bugger to speak like a Malaysian lah. Right? He's teaching this other Mansale, you know, to speak Malaysian properly, you have to, you can't say negeri sembilan, because we always stress only on the second syllable. It should be negeri sembilan lah. I mean, it's about fucking time somebody told this bloody Mansales that just because you fucking old Malay woman and act lah at the end of the sentence, it doesn't make you Malaysian. Just the same as buying an Air Asia ticket to Perth, drinking Fosters and fucking shit makes you an Australian? Oh, wait a minute. Australians don't fuck shit, that's New Zealand. Okay, the title of this show is Sick and Twisted. And personally, I think it is goddamn sick and twisted of those Mansale buggers from Time Out magazine to make a cha-cha fucker like me do a 10-minute stand-up act. Stand up. Oh, you got it. Always the wisecracks will come from the Indian fuckers lah. They gotta be good for something. Nowadays, even the roti chana is made by the bloody Myanmaris, right? Anyway. So far, most of the sick and twisted jokes you've been enjoying, and you should be ashamed of yourself, enjoy this. Most of the sick and twisted jokes you've been enjoying have come from the bloody guailos, right? They've all been telling sick and twisted jokes. And it's actually quite nice that nowadays we can laugh with the guailos. Because years ago we used to laugh at them, right? The fuckers come to a tropical country, take off all their clothes, lie on the beach under the hot sun, get sunburn and skin cancer. Use the umbrella, so hi. Oh, in case you're Mansale or a Guailo, so hi means handsome fella. Stupid cunts. Actually, I'm glad that we have a chance to laugh with the Guailos nowadays. Actually, we have a lot to thank the Guailos for. Yeah? If not for the stupid Guailos paying. If we didn't have stupid Guailos willing to pay 30 ringgit for a cup of coffee, we won't have bangsa, man. And also, something I don't understand. These Guailo fellas come to Malaysia, right? They are tall, fair, blonde hair, blue eyes, fat wallets. But they always go out with the ugly women. Why? What we all consider ugly, they find very exotic. So okay lah, let them fuck the exotics, we Malaysians fuck the babes. Yeah, Guailos came to Malaysia so that ugly Malaysian women can have sex. So I think you should all give a big round of applause to the Guailos. Okay, that was a rather bad attempt so that I can have a look at the script, yeah? How far have we got? So, are you done already? In the lineup tonight, we've laughed at the Guailos already, but in the lineups tonight, we also have one Malay fucker who's going to come on stage and tell you sick and twisted jokes. Now, nowadays we have no choice. We have to laugh with the Malays. Because we can't laugh at them anymore. They have been laughing at us for the past 54 fucking years. Apa ni? When you buy a house, you have to pay full price here. Oh, Betty, you boleh kahwin, you can only marry one wife at a time, huh? So, wait. Oh, you punya children all go to university, you kena bayar sendiri, ya? So, hey, but we all can gamble, drink alcohol, and eat pork, okay? Well, that usually shuts them up. And you will notice one thing, that there are no Indians in the lineup tonight. The African fucker doesn't count. There are no Indians in the lineup for Sick and Twisted. Why? Is it important? I tell you, we Chinese Malaysians are the most racist fuckers when it comes to Indians. It's always keling kwai, keling kwai this, keling kwai that. Tell everybody, keling kwai always get drunk on it, beat their wife, All useless one, keling kwai. Until you need a good lawyer to save your ass in court. Or you're in a hospital with some dreaded disease. Oh, Indian doctor, please. Because the Malay doctor doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And the Chinese doctor charges too much. So, there you go. If you don't know it already, we are a multi-racist country. Malaysia has always been a multi-racist country. And part of the problems we're having today is because people like Najib, the Prime Minister, the part of the problem is people like Najib want to make us into a multicultural one Malaysia, no racism, how can? I mean, back when I was a kid, the Malay fuckers were always lazy bastards, the Indians were always drunk, and the Chinese fellas were always greedy. And we got along fine. Now Malay fellas cannot drink alcohol, cannot gamble, cannot do this, cannot do that, cannot go to church. That's supposed to be better. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you probably know that so far I have not done any sick and twisted jokes. Because I'm basically a very nice guy. I mean, the only thing sick and twisted about me are these shitty legs that I have. You know, when I was 8 years old, I got sick and I contracted polio, which twisted my legs. And since then, I look like a midget on matchsticks running over by a truck in China. Twice. These days, of course, polio is virtually unknown. I mean, the polio vaccine has been around for decades and decades, and now babies are born straight away, they get a polio vaccine, no problem. I wasn't so lucky. I missed the polio vaccine by just 2 years. If I had been born 2 years later, I would have been saved. Why, you're a very caring audience. If I had been born 2 years later, I would have been saved, no polio. But then you see, my only sibling is 14 years older than I am. That means my parents didn't have sex for 14 years. Not with each other, lah. I'm beginning to like this one-eyed guy more and more. So I thought, it's a bit selfish, isn't it, to ask Mama and Papa to put up that fuck for another couple of years, right? can't do a show for this guy if he was alone in the audience. Yeah. But nowadays, having these shitty legs does have certain privileges. Like, I can sometimes park in the handicapped parking space with a clear conscience and without the chat-chat sign to tell everybody what I am, you know. You notice I use the word sometimes, because it's very rare to find an empty handicapped parking spot this time. Because you fuckers park in them, right? Jesus Christ. Okay, of course, being a chat-chat fella does have its privileges, like if there was an emergency, I'm not expected to help, right? And being a chat-chat fella, I can always get a seat on the train, the bus, or the LRT if I live in Australia. And by the way, which fucker in Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka came up with the word chat-chat? Because no matter whether you understand what it means or not, it just sounds wrong. Hello, meet my friend Patrick, he's chat-chat. See, I mean, no matter how you say it, it just sounds very cruel. Chat-chat. Years ago, they used to call people like us cripples. Then they became kinder and said, oh, we are physically challenged. But chat-chat, you're fucked for life, man. Jesus Christ. Now, if I tell you folks, I am actually physically challenged, okay? You'd say to me, no, Patrick, we never noticed or so. Or if I say, I'm handicapped, you say, no lah Patrick, where God, you're okay what? But chat-chat is a condemnation, isn't it? So don't ever tell anybody that he's chat-chat. But in the early days, I used to, because of my chat-chatness, I used to get a lot of consoling hugs from people. See this bugger walking with his bloody shitty legs. And they say, actually Patrick, you're quite lucky, you know. What the fuck? Actually, Patrick, you're quite lucky, you know. Your polio is probably the reason why God gave you such a wonderful voice. Let me tell you folks, things like that don't work. I mean, what the fuck? Is it like God one day looked at me and said, oh God, this poor boy is never gonna make the football team. So I've got to be fair to him. I'm God. So I'm going to bless him with a wonderful voice. Not any voice, but a voice which people one day will say sounds exactly the same as mine. That is not a consoling statement, ladies and gentlemen, so don't say that to me. It's like telling Harith Iskandar to thank God for being fat and bald, otherwise no woman would take pity and marry the fucker. But, you know, I can't escape from the fact that I am chat-chat. So I was quite relieved that I got a job on radio. As a joke there. I was quite relieved that I got a job on radio. And because radio, back when I started, was very, very different from what it is now. Nowadays, you have to be model, drop-dead, gorgeous looking. You have to dress hip and speak cool and hip. And you don't have to speak English. Back when I started radio, you don't have to look, you know, handsome or beautiful. You don't have to dress hip, you know. But I could speak English. Back in the days when I started radio, nobody in radio looks good. Everybody is fucking ugly. I mean, those aunties from PJ will remember Ellen Zachariah, right? You want to frighten children? Show them pictures. Oh, but of course we did have Miss Malaya Yasmin Yusuf. Oh, see what I mean? So I have to face facts. I'm Chachat, old, short, fat, ugly. So, actually, short, fat, ugly, not so bad. Worst I could do is marry a prime minister.
Thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be personally offended if you don't clap one more time for Mr. Pat.
Go Patrick!
I'm just going to bend over a short time. Number one, because I don't really have any jokes to tell, so I won't be up very long. And number two, I quite like it. Have you enjoyed the evening so far?
Yeah!
As a special treat for being quite the most divine audience I've had the pleasure to perform in front of, I have one more act for you this evening. I'm sure you're going to absolutely love him. Please put your hands together